We have got a lot to get through tonight. For those, I've not yet sent the coaching resource out from last week's call, which was the maturation stage, and we got through a lot of information there just about the considerations, more so the coaching considerations, or the coaches' considerations when working with players that are clearly going through a growth spurt. I've not yet sent that email out. So what I do is I put together a coaching resource at the moment, and this will probably continue. I'm sending that resource out to paid subscribers, and they can do with it what they want. They can make it their own, swap it, change it, or whatever. But I've not yet sent that out, so apologies. Want to start off again by thanking you for your support. I was a little bit late, 30 seconds late, because I've got a stroppy 3-year-old upstairs. So we've been busy communicating with him through the intercom. It's only in his room. Stroppy 3-year-old, can you believe it? But I don't take you giving up some time to spend with me for granted. I know at the moment on this platform, it's me doing a lot of talking. I am more than happy moving forwards to invite people to Marcus High, to invite people onto the call, and I will be doing that. But I don't take it for granted. So thanks for the support. I hope you, well, I'm assuming you find it interesting. I'm sharing everything or as many things that I've learned as possible, because I just think that sharing stuff, then it's up to you to decide whether you can use it or not, whether it's useful or whether I'm just talking gibberish. That's up to you. Adam, thank you. Looking forward to the next time. So this is call number 4. We've gone through foundation, emerging, maturation, which covers for ages of 10 up to 16. This is the last bit. This is the roof on the house of my 8-year taking a long-term approach to developing pace bowlers. Okay. I am still working with 16 to 18-year-olds that, for one reason or another, are not able to present an upright seam. And I believe that moving forwards, the best programs will have absolute clarity as to what are the most important things to coach, teach at various stages. And I honestly believe that when you get to this stage, 17 to 18-year-olds, the performance stage, the roof on the house, turning skill into performance, I do believe that running, moving, presenting an upright seam, already gotten into good habits around mobility, nutrition, recovery, hydration, all that kind of stuff are all in place. Because for those that want to and have ambitions to play professional cricket, 17, 18, the option, if they perform well here and they've got all of those things in place underneath, and if they've got ambitions to professional cricket, like rookie contracts, all this kind of stuff, that is not for everybody. And I fully respect that. There are some key messages throughout all of these calls that I think apply to every level, whether it's academy, pro level, or national counties, or club cricket, first team down to fourth team, or whatever. There is bits in here that I think that parents, coaches, and players, I know you're all on this call, and have been over the last few calls, that apply to every level. All right. That's why I'm sharing stuff. It's not the right view nor the wrong view. It's just my opinion, having picked up stuff over the last 20 odd years. So this is the roof on the house. 8-year program. I will be rolling this out at some point, whether it's coach education or working with groups of people all over the country. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I will be rolling this out because I think that laying those foundations will, and those habits and knowledge and fun at the core of everything will last. Those are the things that will last a lifetime, regardless of what level that person wants to play. Okay, so what does it mean, performance stage? We're developing skills and have done, and now we're executing skills, sometimes under pressure, with fun, and having the skill to overcome that pressure, whatever that might be. Okay, so I've called this identity markers. Okay, so who is that bowler? Each individual. They will, at this stage, they will have a clearer idea. Proper West Country come out every now and then. They will have a clearer idea of what their role is in different formats. Now, let's take club cricket. 50 over matches, T20 matches, they'll understand and be clear on what their role is so they can train appropriately. They'll understand when to apply the skills that they are good at, as well as know what they need to be kind of developing and bubbling away underneath at training and seeking coaching to help them continue to add more skills. They will have, at this level, a reliable stock ball. Okay, that I think is really important. What is the ball that they can bowl? And can they explain what shape, whether it's away swing or in swing? Because remember, because they've been coached really well beforehand, they can present an upright seam and have the skill to tilt it one way or the other, to swing it one way or the other. I really do believe that swing is going to play a massive part in the game in the next 5 years. And remember, we're always trying to answer the question as best we can, the crystal ball. What's the game going to look like in 5 years' time? Well, lots of it's going to be very similar to what it is now. But I love the thought of having a whole bunch of bowlers across the country at various ages that know how to swing a ball. Because as soon as you know how to present an upright seam, you can then choose that way, or you can do a wobble seam, or you can do whatever you want. All right. So stock ball, as well as 2 or 3 trusted variations. Now, stock ball, top of the stumps. The game will still evolve around the top of the stumps. We're still looking for that consistency with lateral movement. Then you might also then have, and you probably will do, a slower ball. All right, a trusted slower ball. Depending on the action, it's either going to be an off cutter, a leg cutter, a split finger, back of the hand slower ball. One of those slower balls, I quite like, I'll be honest, a slower ball that cuts into the wicket and does something laterally. All right, because then if you're, depending on the surface you're bowling on, it gives you the option of defending one half of the field. So for instance, if you're bowling to a right-hander and you bowl an off cutter, you've got the option of getting the ball into the surface that gets it to stick, if it's that sort of surface, and the line you bowl, and they can only ever hit you to the long side, okay? And then it's about, are you bowling at the right end? So I do like the option of a variation of a cutter, whether it be, depending on the action, an off cutter or a leg cutter, okay? You might also need to have, a bouncer, I think, is an easier option, although it still needs to be practiced. So batters don't moan when bowlers need to practice the accuracy and the length for their bouncer. I've seen that so many times. I mean, batters getting shirty because bowlers are bowling them bouncers. Well, that's the game. So I do think that as long as it is practiced, bowlers need to bowl a bouncer. And then I honestly think a Yorker as well. So you're looking at stock ball, you're looking at a slower ball, you are looking at being able to practice and execute a bouncer and a Yorker. All right. As soon as you bowl a Yorker, it's a feel thing. You can then start playing about with where on the crease you're going to bowl a Yorker. Is it going to be at the batter's toes, off stump, wide? something. So you've got various options. All right. I do believe at this stage bowlers can operate with clarity, calm, and tactical awareness. So they have a plan A, a plan B, and a field that reflects that as well. Nitin, thank you. Sam, good to see you. So they've already gone through that. By this age, they've been educated on the tactical side of the game. And the last thing here, this is what performance kind of looks like. This is what good looks like, really, in my opinion. They train in such a way that reflects all of that. This purpose. All right. And again, you can take out the bits that don't apply to certain players because they just want to be there with their mates, have a bit of fun. That's fine. But for the players that turn up at training and they still want to kind of, where can I get another 1%? You can have one eye on those principles. Okay, so that's what performance kind of looks like. Any questions? And then please feel free whilst I'm harping on, because I do have a tendency to get a bit of verbal diarrhea when I start talking about this stuff. So if you've got any questions, please just keep it coming, and I'll stop and I'll read them. Okay, so at 18, I'll crack on. At 18, I think these are the core outcomes that we are looking for. So this is the last year of this 8-year program. Technical, repeatable stop ball under fatigue. Can they still bowl their stop ball when they are tired, they are knackered? Scene presentation, alignment. So alignment of them technically. Are they still running towards the target? Now, the target might not always be the stumps. The target might be channel if they're trying to protect one side. So do they adjust their run-up alignment and their feet alignment and then their action to reflect the line that they are looking to bowl? All right. Technique, a repeatable technique, a sound, healthy technique will allow bowlers to bowl the line that they are looking to bowl. Length is different. That's feel. All right. That's a different aspect. So scene presentation, alignment, and their own alignment. They'll be aware of, I've called it ball flight awareness, but intentional swing, wobble, scramble, call it whatever you want, but they will have that awareness and those skills already in there because they've been coached how to do it. Some balls won't swing. So therefore, when you go and choose a ball, and I really urge at every level, there's a couple of things. One, educate bowlers how to look after the ball. And two, on a match day, go and choose the ball that you want to bowl with. And some balls, this is a high quality ball, found this in the car. Some balls won't swing, in which case you are looking to choose the ball with the sharpest and biggest seam, because you're still looking to get lateral movement, even if that ball doesn't swing. All right. Technically, they have rhythm with their run up and consistent across sessions and matches. They will have run up rhythm and consistency because they were taught that from the age of 10. This is where it all complements each other, and we're just layering foundations and levels of the house all the way through this program, and now this is putting the roof on. I quite like that analogy. My dad was a builder, retired now, and I guess that's where my mind immediately goes. What are we building? What are we building? We're building pace bowlers with a long-term view. Bless him. Great man. Okay, tactically, age of 18, understanding the phases of play, the different phases of play, new ball, middle overs, death, when to contain, when to close the game down, and then when to attack, when identifying when the team and the bowler has earned the right to push hard for a wicket. And their mindset reflects that, and so does their field placings. Because sometimes it's okay to go for runs if you're going hard to take a wicket. Sometimes the game kind of tells you that's what it needs. The most important thing is a wicket and less so runs. And then identifying if you're going to push hard for a wicket, it might only be 3 or 4 balls. It might be 3 or 4 overs. But identifying, right, we need to close the game back down again. We need to defend both sides or whatever. But reading the game, I guess, is what I'm saying at this age. Field placings. I coach at Epsom College every Sunday, and 15 to 17-year-olds, no, maybe younger, 14 to 16-year-olds. They have no idea what their field placings will be. And it's like that. Those are the examples that I believe that this is really important, because we need to educate them. What is your plan A field when you've got a new ball in your hand? What's your plan A field when you're bowling at the death and your team requires you to defend 12 and over with 30-yard boundary on the offside? What's your plan? So game awareness, game sense is what John Bracewell used to call it. My daughter's in the house, Jess. She said that she would hop on. She's looking to improve her game awareness. Um, Tactically, ability to bowl to a plan, 6 ball period. So little phases of play. Every over is a phase of play. So the awareness of how to enter an over. And I like breaking an over down. So in one day cricket, ball 1 and 2, you're getting into the over. You're getting into it unscathed. You are bowling your best ball. You are looking to get hits in the field, and maybe ball 1 and 2, you are working out which batter you want to bowl to. So you can afford to give away a single, for instance, in ball 1 and 2. And I think if ball 1 and 2 has gone really well, you can start exploring ball 3 and 4. As long as ball 1 and 2 has gone really well. Okay, Chris, how you doing? You can explore. You've earned that right. Ball 3 and 4, and then balls 5 and 6. You then have to make a decision. Can I afford to go for another ball and get a wicket? Explore some more. Can I get a wicket? Or do I need to close my over down now, ball 5 and 6, and hand my over to my bowling partner at the other end? Those are that's not complicated. That's just reading the game. And I think that 18 years old, if they've been taught well, coached well, educated well, these are the kind of conversations I think that 18-year-olds ought to be having, but hardly ever do. My experience. That's why I'm really looking to get this stuff out there with you and everybody else to, can we start educating bowlers differently? The ability to execute defend versus attack strategies. Okay. Physically robustness. This is where lots of different views. There's no disagreements. There's just different views. I believe lots of you would know this already. If a bowler's not bowling, they're not improving. There's always something that they can improve, but they can only do that really by bowling. You can improve physically in the gym, running with a running coach. You can improve all the other aspects, but when it comes to bowling, bowlers need to bowl. And I do honestly believe that in terms of physical robustness, yes, you can do the gym work. Of course you can. And it's really important that bowlers do that. But I also like, now that we've gone through October, and most bowlers have had 4 to 6 weeks off, they need to start bowling again. And maybe only twice a week. And I really like the option of drill sessions. And at the end of each drill session, they just bowl 12 balls, literally eyeballs out. And if you've got a short run up, you put the bowler's stumps halfway down the net to allow bowlers to come off their normal run up. And for 12 balls, they let the handbrake off and they bowl the ball straight into the back net. Why is that important? Well, you're getting closer to match intensity, and you are reminding the body, this is who I am, this is what I do. And your bones, a bowler's bone needs stress. We talked about this, I think, on the last call, maybe every call so far. Bowling stresses bones. Bones like stress as long as they have enough chance to recover, because bones will repair themselves by coming back stronger. So if you have a whole winter of just doing drills, when you get to pre-season, all of a sudden you're ramping that intensity up again. You're probably bowling more overs at high intensity than you have done the whole winter. That's a spike, and we know that, you know, spikes in overs, workloads, is an issue. So that's why I think when bowlers start back bowling, even this side of Christmas, 12 balls at the end of each training session, that to me is physical robustness, as well as running, as well as strength training. The other side of Christmas, if you've got a decent S&C coach, you then start adding power, plyometrics, training like a sprinter and all that kind of stuff. But it's always built on the foundation of strength. But that's robustness. And why is that important? Well, you might be able to squeeze one or two more overs out of a spell. And if you are able to do that, and a bowler's body is solid for bowling, they can hold those really good technical positions for longer. That is why it's important. Strength markers. So push, pull, lunge, squats, core strength and flexibility. Those are basically the movements within the bowling action. All right, so that's basic markers. These stuff that I've learned: hinge, squat, push, pull patterns. That's pretty much it. Sprints, and then recovery habits. So the best form of recovery is, after training, good nutrition, good sleep, hydrate well. Really simple. I like to keep things really, really simple. Get those three things in place as recovery strategies, and you won't go too far wrong. And now I've got the psychological side, the mental side. So, you know, what happens when you apply a lot of pressure in training and pressure is applied in matches? Do they have those strategies to, you know, think logically, to walk back to their mark with a process of assessing what just happened? Did I bowl the ball that I intended to? Yes, it still went out of the park. Well, it might have been the wrong ball to bowl. It doesn't mean that it was a bad ball. It was well executed, but then the question is, okay, was it the wrong option? It'd be one of those things. If it's poorly executed, then going back to the process. So having in place, what do I do when I perform really well with each of your bowlers, and get them to list it technically, tactically, physically, mentally, lifestyle wise. This is what I do when I perform really well. And they can go back through that checklist. They refer back to their process, their performance process, walking back to their mark, assess what just happened, what needs to happen next, what's your process, end of your mark, deep breath, relax, visualize the ball you're about to bowl, and then go all in on bowling that ball. Do they have those skills, ability to reset after a poor delivery or a poor over, self-talk that supports performance? So, you know, what's the language that they are telling themselves? Do they have some sort of anchor of reminding them when they have performed really well? And that's pretty much it from a mental sort of thing, side of things. Any questions? I can see you're all still on here. It's quite interesting, this, because without having somebody here to have a natter, and I had a really good last week. I was up in Sheffield chatting with Sam Hunt from CrickFit. He's worth a follow on Instagram. We're doing some collaborations. He's from a cricket background, which I like. And he's understanding more and more about bowling. And I've always operated I think I've operated really well when I've worked closely alongside an S&C coach that gets it. They get it. They understand bowling enough, but they also, if they got any, they look for advice by working and asking questions of the bowling coach. And Sam does that. Okay, I'm going to move on. Key coaching messages. I honestly believe that technique, lots of detail, is currently being used with kids, young players. They don't need a lot of detail. They need fun. They need, to my belief, coaches need the technical detail and the technical simple stuff, the technical knowledge, but they don't need to impart it onto the player. I believe that all the player needs is, right, what's the problem that I need solving? What's the problem in front of me? What are my options to overcome it? So, for instance, I am bowling at a batter that's on 130, not out of 70 balls. And I am bowling and they need 9 to win. That is a problem that needs solving. And then you set up the situation and you allow them to kind of work out how best to overcome that problem. You cannot, no bowler at any level, at any age, can afford to be thinking about what their front arm's doing, what their feet are doing, a delayed front arm, a braced front leg, whatever, when they have to perform. They cannot afford to be thinking like that. And I think as coaches, it's our responsibility to understand what a bowler does need to know and what they don't need to don't need to know in order to perform. Okay. Clearly, this time of year in the off season is a great opportunity for us coaches to break actions down and then build them back up through drills, um, uh, and get whatever toys out you need, whether it's poles, springy boards, or whatever it might be, hurdles, whatever. But at the core of those drills, it's got to be helping that bowler to tweak and refine and improve their action technically. But you don't need to talk technique to players. All right, my belief. There is an overload. I speak with players. I'm harping on about this point. I speak with players, and they talk technique to me like scientific, and I'm thinking, you're clearly intelligent, more intelligent than I am. But how about um, can you bowl me an in swinger that starts off at the wicket keeper and swings back into middle stump? Can you do that? And that's that's coming away from technique and that's going into performance. Anyway, any views on that? Have you anyone here got any views on players that they work with or your sons or daughters that get confused with technique? Okay, Sam. Um, I have a question for you. I'm always curious how coaches prioritize working with players with limited time and resources. As a player coach here in Canada, what a place. Went on tour there years ago. I think we talked about this before. There are no indoor training facilities to get the volume and skill work in the off season, and it's too cold to train outdoors in the winter. But simply, we have less chance to develop players like someone can in major cricket countries. How would you navigate that to optimize development with such restrictions? The only time to train is generally summer. What a great question. And I always think being creative is the way forwards. Now, I know, I know, I'm assuming, Sam, that there are some sort of indoor facilities especially when it's 10 feet of snow outside. There must be some sort, not necessarily cricket facilities, but just indoor facilities. Because as soon as you've got indoor facilities, you can get them bowling. We have, yeah, we're blessed in this country because of indoor facilities, but I have in the past, when there's no snow, but got football boots on and gone to the local park, soaking wet, and got them bowling off a short run, soft ground, got them through their actions, set up some stumps, put something behind to collect the balls. Don't use new balls because they get ruined. But getting bowlers bowling, that is the key, whether it's indoors, and you must have some indoor facilities there that you can kind of start investigating that you could use. It doesn't have to be cricket specific. You can bowl anywhere. But then I also really like getting bowlers to bowl on soft ground, because indoor facilities, it's easier because it's hard ground, right? They're wearing nice soft shoes. That's another conversation. And it's easy to run and all this kind of stuff. But as soon as you start getting them bowling on soft ground, it's difficult. And it's amazing how often bowlers of all ages just get stiff when they are used to bowling indoors or even on, hard grass. And you say, right, today we're bowling on this, and it's soft. So there must be some options there. So I'm more than happy to have a conversation more about that. But I guess the question is, if you were to be as creative as you possibly could be, what are the options? If we are saying, if you've got an indoor space, you can bowl anywhere. You don't need 22 yards. You can bowl with a soft ball as long as they've got a run up. You've got a soft ball, like an Incredible, or even a tennis ball. You can put some tape on it. I've got one on me. You can put some tape on it, and they can bowl the ball into a wall or whatever it might be. You can check seam positions. You can do tactical sessions, but get them bowling. So if you were to be as creative as possible, what do you have? Out of town, 1 hour drive away. It's fine. Baseball turf, which unfortunately the turf is actually spongy. Can't net. You don't need to net, but you can bowl and drill. Perfect. We've come up with a solution. There's got to be some other options in there as well. The soft ground when it's not snowy. That would be a good game, wouldn't it? Cricket on snow. That would get their legs working. Okay. One more and then I'll get back to this, Chris. While I agree fun is 100% more important, I very find it encourage them to start researching the technique, and skill development, in addition to what they learn in solo and group training environments. I don't push it on them. I just drip Alfred, what I consider enough, to see if they're interested. I find it with. I'm doing quite a lot with cues at the moment. Sam, no problem. I'm doing quite a lot with cues. So, for instance, if I'm trying to get a bowler to be taller at back foot contact, cues such as, right, short run up, I want you to imagine squeezing your shoulder blades together, your thoracic spine. Squeeze your shoulder blades together at back foot contact. That normally has a positive effect on getting them taller. And that's not technical. Well, I guess it could be, but it's a feel technique in order to get them into a better, stronger position, if you see what I mean. I used it last night. I do one-to-ones up here in the Midlands on a Monday and a Wednesday. I got a string on the floor. Get your belly button running over the string. Follow the string. It's just stuff like that to sort out alignment and things. But yeah, Chris, I don't disagree at all. I'm just very mindful of they do need to understand their technique. I think bowlers, especially when they're under pressure. So, what's the one thing, the one technical thing that they can go to when they've just been hit for 3 4s in a row? So, for instance, my technical drill or cue, sorry, was okay. Something didn't feel quite right. So my cue was in a fraction of a second. I wanted to see in my peripheral, immediately in front of me, my front arm extending down the wicket, because sometimes when I was not performing at my best, my front arm would often fall away because I was trying to bowl too quickly. But that was so having one kind of technical cue to go to can actually improve confidence. I hope that answers. Yeah, so I'm not saying it's wrong at all, but I just think we need to be mindful of the detail. And there seems, on some occasions, there's a lot of detail that get given to players. Mick, I'm always battling with the language I use when I coach. I'm always trying to make anything I say really clear and simple. That's not battling. I think that is the way to go. Simplicity is genius. I find it quite hard sometimes not to waffle over. Yeah, we all do. You've heard me on these calls. I always waffle. I once worked with a psychologist, Will James. He worked with ECB, and he just kept talking. He used to stand at the end of the net, and I used to be kind of working with bowlers, and we used to review it at the end. And he came out with the phrase, less is more. And he gave me some examples of some of the best coaching sessions of coaches that he felt as a psychologist was that the coach set up the session, put all the toys, paraphernalia, whatever, and gave the session verbally to the cricketers, and then said nothing. He just felt that it was you clearly need to have the right group in front of you. He just felt that coaches set up and describe what the session is, describe what success looks like, set up a competition, whatever, and then just kind of sit back and see who can get their head around what the problem is, who works together, either as a group of bowlers or who works individually. You know, who's that silent assassin saying nothing but working it out in their heads and just doing it themselves. So that was Will James, but he sort of less is more. I was on a call earlier on with somebody, a paid subscriber, their 45-minute Zoom call, and it came up in conversation there as well. I do think observation, coaches observing more is underrated. As long as it's safe for cricketers. So yeah, waffling with good intention is you know is both a gift, but it can also kind of take away as well, can it? Thanks for that. Okay. Key coaching messages. I've got quite a bit to go through, but I'm not gonna. We're gonna call time on this at 8:30. Key coaching messages, performance days. We really need to start coaching the bowler as opposed to just technique. Coach the bowler. What are they good at? How can we evolve their skills, their individual skills, which then fit into the team? How can we evolve what they do really well as the bowler, as opposed to just talking technique? Technique is really important. Technique is the process to deliver the skill. Of course it is. And as coaches, we've always got one eye on what we are seeing. But again, I guess it goes back to my previous point. What does this bowler in front of me need to hear and need to know, as opposed to what's going on inside my head as a coach, and I just kind of talk to him, if you see what I mean. going back to this, key coaching messages. We're always looking to support decision making. So any decision is better than no decision. So allowing players to make decisions in a safe environment. So failing is all part of that really important journey that they're on. And taking responsibility for that in a safe way. There's no failing, there is only learning. Players, shouldn't they be doing the bulk of the talking? There you go. And these things I'm putting together here now, these are taken from notebooks that I've kept over the years. So at this stage, I honestly believe coaches asking questions and obviously helping where needed, but seeing which players are doing most of the talking is always an interesting one. The coach becomes a facilitator. Okay, what changes from the maturation stage? So this is a performance stage we're talking about. What changes from the previous stage through the growth spurt? In maturation, we touched on it last week. We are refining movement because bowlers are growing that way and that way. Lots going on. In maturation stage, we are refining movement. We are seeking to help them with rhythm and consistency. And in this performance, we are looking to apply all of that, everything that they've learned in all of the stages. They're graduating through that maturation stage. We're looking to apply all of that in game specific and pressurized situations. Okay, that's what we're looking to do. So it's really a shift from here's how your body moves to here's how we use the skills in these moments. Okay. Any questions on that? I'm not going to be able to get through all this. I knew this was going to be the case. What were you just saying, Mick, about waffling on? Exactly what I do. Okay, practicing. Let's go through a few of these. So these are some options to set up practices. And again, I've called this 17 to 18-year-olds, but to be honest, you can adapt these for any ages. There is no, this is how we train. Use that gap as much as we can. We clearly train more than we play. So training must reflect that. Training must reflect and almost be a simulation of the game. Now at club level, well, I used to play club cricket, believe it or not. We used to train only on a Thursday and play on a Saturday and a Sunday. And that Thursday night just became really important. And so I look back and often, because it was just one training night, those practice sessions were bloody intense. And there was never any kind of workload stuff back then. We're talking a long time ago. But bowlers did not mess about because it was their one practice night a week. And batters, I've got a thing, batters generally practice getting out, don't they, at training? They don't like hearing that, but that's often the case. Jacques Callis once said, I read it, that he would, majority of the time, only practice the start of his innings because he knew that as soon as he got through the start of his innings, first 20, 25 balls, he knew that he had the game. He'd obviously done a lot of training, a lot of foundational work, but he knew that his most vulnerable period is at the start of his innings, so that's what he needed to practice most. And then once he got through that, practice defense, leaving it, defending the stumps, whatever, assessing the pitch, assessing the bowler. Once he got through that, he might play a little bit more expansively. But what a simple, great philosophy. Whereas from the majority of my coaching, I've just seen players, batters getting out. It does depend on the scenario. If it's T20 cricket, batters have the with the license to expand and stuff as well. It depends what they're looking to work on. Dynamite. Okay. Mick, I like the phrase, we're not training, we're rehearsing. Of course we are. Okay. Stretch zone at training. Train at the edge of your ability. Intentional difficulty. What's the drill? How can I make it more challenging? That is where we need to live, I think, at this age and even above, maybe even below. Scenario-based practices, some examples: defend 10 off the last over, really break it down, work as a pair, have a whiteboard if you need to, get bowlers to change their field and communicate that to the batter. Add things in there. It's always quite interesting because the coach is the umpire basically, and you could say stupid stuff like, right, there's a gale force wind, going with the batter. So the bowler is bowling into the wind, the batter's hitting with the wind, sort of thing. That's a 30-yard boundary. That's a 70-yard boundary. All sorts of stuff you can put in there. Defend 10 off the last over. You can have little phases of 3 balls. Right, set it up. Right, next 3 balls you got to get 5 runs. Next 3 balls you got to get a wicket. Don't care how many runs you go for. Set your field accordingly. Left-hander on strike, wind blowing across, middle over squeeze. Middle over squeeze, and I'm looking for those 2 dot ball phases. 2 dots. How many of those can we get as a pair and as an individual? And I always quite like, even if it training, bowl whenever you can, bowl in overs. And if your ball 6 is a dot, does their ball 1 go for a dot? Because I count those as dots, 2 ball dots as well. Okay. So the stuff like that, there's so many things you can do. Constraint drills, you're only allowed to bowl wobble seam today, and you're gonna have a split field 5-4. So you're bowling at the stumps. So that's the scenario. Hit it top of off from a reduced run up, short run up. Whatever, I played or was coach at a game at Bristol years and years ago before they had drainage sorted, and the run-ups at the back end of the run-ups, start of the run-ups was boggy, but actually the run-ups got better as the bowler moved towards the crease, and so lots of the bowlers from that particular end had to bowl a short run-up. Let's practice it. Constraint drills, I also really like standing there, and I've not got one on me, with a spray with water, nothing else. And you, every now and then, you get the ball from the bowler as they're walking back to their mark. You get the ball and you just spray the ball with water. Very, very specific of, playing in matches where the ball gets wet. What are you going to do? It's not going to swing now. How are you going to hold it? It gives you opportunities to start talking about, you go down the seam, you go across seam. Performance games. Okay, 6-ball scorecard. Bowl of 6 balls, and it's a leaderboard. Let's put it up on there. How many runs are you going to go for on 6 balls in your 1 over to finish? Who's going to end up the leader? Can be the same batter that they all bowl to. Can you defend a third of the pitch? Can you defend 1/2 of the pitch? Who's able to do that? What are you going to do? So many things you can do. Okay. We're almost getting to the end, actually. This is good. I'm rattling through this. What do you put in here? I don't know. Scenario training. Okay. Scenario is great for batters as well as bowlers and gives a bit more. Absolutely. The more competition we can have at training, the better, because it's stimulating. And if you can have competition with communication, so the players have to communicate amongst themselves, then even better. Training environments, what good looks like. Clarity. This is what we're working on. This is why we're working on it. This is how we're going to do it. Intention on every ball. So can the bowler describe literally in 2 seconds, this is what I'm bowling this ball? when to stretch players versus when to allow them to be comfortable. I'm a big fan of just having both. Stretching them to almost like the only option is for them to fail, and seeing their reaction. Can they, given the same situation again, you've just lost that ball that over. Given the same situation again, what would you do differently? These sort of conversations are absolutely powerful. So stretching them versus comfort, tactical conversations between balls, who's honest, who's not. I've had, I've not got them on me. They're in my computer somewhere. Like laminated A4 sheets, and I've got like ball one. I've described the ball I want them to bowl, and they had to come back and put a ticker across. So it might be top of off, bouncer, well executed bouncer, ticker across. Then it might be top of off, left-hander, ticker across, and all of a sudden they mark themselves, or one of their teammates are marking them as well. That's quite a nice one if there's no batter to bowl to. Can they describe a calm, repeatable pre-delivery routine? I've just got some red flags. We're almost come to an end. We're pleased to know. Red flags. Watch out for these things, and these are just my views. Overcoaching technique when consistency is already in place. So if a bowler is actually performing really well at training and in matches, of course you're looking for opportunities to kind of, okay, what else can you add in? You're already really consistent. That's great. Is there something we can add to your skill bag? Can we work on something away which you might not use in a game? But is there an opportunity for us to keep adding and keep challenging and supporting that player? So when a bowler is being consistent performance-wise and behaviour-wise and everything, red flag can be overcoaching technique. Bowlers that are chasing speed without control. So I always, speed is clearly important, all right? We've seen that in the Ashes and we're going to again. It makes things happen. It makes batters do funny things. Speed is really important. What I mean by chasing speed without control is, do they compromise their technique in order to improve their speed? That is what I mean. Does their action start looking unhealthy? Do they start falling away? Do they start getting their feet out in front of them so they start slowing down in their run up? For a bowler that normally presents in that right seam, all of a sudden, do they start? Can they? Do they start bowling with a wobbly seam because they're falling away, or they're falling off the ball a little bit more? So that is what I mean by that. Chasing speed, absolutely. But we have to also understand that in competition, speed might be the right option, but the right option might also be accuracy on a green nipper, swing in swing conditions. You know what I mean? So keep an eye on technique. I've also put a red flag: too much perfect training, not enough messy stroke real training. I think real training, and is it Adam? I think you put that there, and Mick. Messy training is okay, because that's the game. The game is you having every intention to perform a certain way, but it doesn't happen because the batters have other intentions. So can you set that up in training? So perfect training, playing and missing, bowlers bowling with brand new balls every week, if that's a thing. Some weeks just give them some absolute dog balls that are soft, no seam. Right, you're bowling with these this week. Find a way of still doing a job for your team. Okay. Uh, 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 and I've just got some kind of final thoughts. I believe that having kind of traveled through this 8-year program, asking these questions of the player, I think that they ought to be able to answer. What do I want to be known for as a bowler now? Not in 2 or 3 years' time, but everything that they've learned and coached and experienced at 18. Want to be known for as a bowler? What's my stock ball and how often can I land it under pressure? They ought to know this. If it's not a lot, then they probably need to continue practicing their slower ball. Their stock ball. What variation builds pressure for me consistently? These are questions players ought to have answers for. What's my plan when I'm under pressure? What do I need as a bowler from my captain? What does elite training look like for me? Okay, kind of throughout tonight's call, I've kind of alluded to the previous stages. Um, and again, tonight, this was about the roof on the house. This was about the stage of turning everything that they've learned at 17 and 18 to still a 2-year kind of stage. Everything they've learned, turning the skill into performance. Right. I've bored myself. What have you got for me? What do you want to talk about before we close it off? Talk to me. Talk to me. What do we have? Mick, really interesting stuff, especially as my son is going through his exact age group. Yeah. I hope he's going really well. He's surrounded by good people there. So, yeah, he'll be right. Let me know if I can help. But that's the other challenge, isn't it? Too many voices. You don't need too many voices, I don't think. I do think players, Kevin Peterson, I was so fortunate enough to see him in action, see him in the dressing room. And do you know what? For all the noise that Kevin Peterson was surrounded by, what a man in the dressing room. Generous. He once held an hour-long batting session with the whole squad, just on about playing spin. It was brilliant. But anyway, Kevin Peterson, his go-to coach, is where I was going, was Graham Ford. Whilst he was working with many, many other coaches, of course he was, Graham Ford established a relationship with Kevin at the start of his professional journey back in South Africa. And he gravitated back towards Graham whenever you know, he just kept in contact with him. And Graham would just say, "Look, I'm just noticing this. Have you tried this?" Sometimes it was just a conversation. And there's been many other people that they have somebody to go back to, and I think that's really important. But too many voices, and it's a real issue. Mick, Adam, people, most of you here with talented cricketers, too many voices, and it's my job. I'm working with a small number of players, mostly on an online basis, but some a hybrid of online and also face to face. And it's my job to kind of communicate with all the other coaches, whether it's county coaches, club coaches, national county coaches, school coaches, whatever. So everybody is consistent in their messages. But if you haven't got that, everybody wants a piece of talent, don't they? which again can be confusing. The right at the center of all of this is the player, the confused player. You know, one doesn't enjoy it quite as much as maybe they have to or need to, because the game is there to be enjoyed. All right. Um, but if they're confused, they kind of, it just clouds everything. So, um, any other questions? Have I bored you? Jess, are you still on? What have you got? What have you got? What have you got? That's an hour. Can you believe it? Anything else from anybody else? I was going to, I'll leave it. I'll leave it to the next one. I know you saw Rowan last night, but your lives recently have led to where he is now. He has taken a lot himself from your Instagram posts and whatever related. Thank you. I did one. I did an Instagram post earlier on, and in fact, I posted it on this Substack. I did a podcast. I can't remember. I don't know what it was. It was an hour-long conversation with Sam Hunt, the cricket guy. We talked about anything and everything about fast bowling from an S&C point of view as well as a coach's point of view. And I regard myself as a failed professional cricketer. And I've told this story before, but in the most positive sense. I posted it on Substack and also on Instagram just before this call earlier. It only lasted 2 years for me. It should have lasted, I will say, 12 to 15 years. And I kept hearing that I was going to play for England. And I'm thinking, I had talent. And I'm thinking, I'm hearing all this stuff. And I got a pro contract without really having to work that hard for it. And then things got tough. I started playing like alongside people that and against people that I put on pedestals, and I started doubting myself, and I hadn't doubted myself at all because until those experiences, but I didn't have the tools. I hadn't failed enough to know what to do in those situations. I didn't have the right habits. I didn't surround myself with people that challenged me enough. I didn't seek coaches to ask them those questions of the answers we don't always like to hear. Didn't look after myself physically, nutritionally, sleep, all that kind of stuff. And before I knew it, my opportunity had gone. But I regard those 2 years as a pro, that was my dream, and it got taken away. I regard now knowing that it was my fault because it was my decisions and my choices as a gift, because at the core of once I decide I want to be a coach, at the core of my philosophy is identifying behaviors, traits, habits, rituals with the players that I am seeing. Is what I'm seeing, does it remind me of me when I was in that situation? Because it didn't work for me and it won't work for anybody here now. And so my coaching is based on, don't make the same mistakes as me, because I was talented as well, believe it or not. So I put that I am who I am today. I want to help people, of course I do, but having gone through that experience, I am a failure. That is all part of the process. I am who I am today because of that failure and all the other experiences that I've gone through as well. I'm not unique. I never want to come across as teaching people how to suck eggs. I'm learning all the time as well. I've got a load of experiences that I think that some people might find helpful. So Rowan, he didn't know it. He didn't know what he's got, and that's the exciting thing. It's up to him how far he takes it. as it is with all cricketers, really. Um, do you find that some talented bowlers at a young age, do you think they've made it and drop off at an early age, and others that perhaps haven't got it as much? Yes, absolutely. Ollie Pope is a great example of that. I saw Ollie Pope when he was like 15, and I thought, yeah, he's all right. He was graduating through the same academy, Surrey Academy, as Sam, Tom, um, Amar Verdi. There's another one there as well. Um, very obviously talented, but Ollie just had this fire in his eyes and this attitude where he would do more than everybody else. I'm not saying he wanted it more than everybody else, but he just overtook people, and he is where he is today. So, yes, talented people generally get recognised quite early, whether it's because of a physical attribute or talent attribute. But I honestly believe in the right program, and in this kind of program that I've delivered over the last 4 calls, within there is high challenge and high support. And even highly talented players, they have to experience failure, but in a safe way where you sift through the wreckage in a safe, understanding way. Okay, what just happened? Why did it happen? Uh, what do we need to do differently? And you set it up again, and they choose a different option. They might fail again, and that's okay. But then, they'll hit upon something where a similar situation, they end up winning that ball or that game, and those are this. You celebrate failure, and you celebrate when somebody punches through the other side because they found out something about themselves. But I think that talented players. I know that I talk for myself. Coming up through the age groups, I didn't fail enough, and it was kind of handed on a plate to me a little bit, and that is why I struggled when I was a professional cricketer at Gloucestershire. 2 of the most amazing years of my life, playing alongside and against heroes of mine. But it was too late. Didn't have the habits, um, and those habits um, are ingrained long before I was 20 and 21, and they ought to have been ingrained long before that. But talented players can often kind of steer clear of anything that's uncomfortable as well. That's why we have to put them into those into those kind of environments and those experiences where it is uncomfortable. A lot of chess pieces, yeah, yeah. Okay, look, I I'm going to put something out over the next few days on Substack. So something, I think this video will go out. I think I'm right in saying that it will drop into your inboxes. I think. I'm going to put together a coach resource, and unfortunately, that will only be sent to paid subscribers. But I will continue to share as many things as I can that is relevant. That's why I'm always interested in hearing from everybody here. What are the problems that you are encountering, either as a parent, a coach, or a player, that if shared, we can come up with some options. And I'm more than happy to kind of share my own opinion on stuff as you've experienced here for the last 70 minutes. Um, but yeah, the coach resource will go out. And there'll be some stuff. There'll be some little kind of clips on this that I'll just keep sharing as well, so you get some reminders. But apart from that, I think that's it. I think that is it. Is there anything more? Did you know when you select a cricket ball, do the white ball? Did you know this is pretty much brand new? Wouldn't have been bowled many times. See that there, that hole? What you are looking for conventional swing is a ball with no holes in. In this white ball, pretty much every, apart from that one there, that's a quarter seam. That's tight together. So for conventional swing, you are looking for the quarter seam with no gaps. A quarter seam with gaps, that's really good for reverse swing. There you go. You can have that one for free. That's really good for reverse swing because as the ball is released, and this is all dependent on how good the bowler is at presenting an upright seam, okay? As the ball is rotating, those little gaps in the quarter seams, they react to the airflow. And instead of, if the ball is tilted that way, the quarter seams will make it go there. There you go. Rash, what are you doing? I'm just about to come off the call now. Any other questions? One more, I reckon, if there is one. If not, I bid you farewell. 10 seconds. Are we done? It's like an auction. Okay, I am planning. Let me just have a quick look. I am planning on having another call next week. Let me just see. Today. Let's go next week. Yeah, we're on one next week as well. So those that are around, be lovely to see you. Right, listen, thank you. Jen, thanks. Chris, pleasure. Never take this stuff for granted. Have a great evening. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you soon.